Welcome to Little Women, a sleep reading series. Each episode, we read together from Louisa May Alcott's beloved novel, a story of four sisters, a warm home, and the quiet work of becoming good. This is the very beginning. Let the March family carry you gently into sleep. Now, let your eyes grow heavy. Settle in beneath whatever warmth you have near you. Breathe slowly and let the old story find you wherever you are. Chapter 1. Playing Pilgrims. Christmas won't be Christmas without any presents, said Joe, lying on the rug. It's so dreadful to be poor, sighed Meg, looking down at her old dress. I don't think it's fair for some girls to have plenty of pretty things, and other girls nothing at all, added little Amy, with a small, injured sniff. We've got father and mother and each other, said Beth contentedly, from her corner. The four young faces on which the firelight shone brightened at the cheerful words, but grew quiet again as Joe said, more softly, "We haven't got father, and shall not have him for a long time." She didn't say, perhaps never, but each silently added it, thinking of father far away, where the fighting was. Nobody spoke for a minute. Then Meg said, in an altered tone, "You know the reason Mother proposed not having any presents this Christmas was because it is going to be a hard winter for everyone, and she thinks we ought not to spend money for pleasure when our men are suffering so in the army. We can't do much, but we can make our little sacrifices, and ought to do it gladly. But I'm afraid I don't." And Meg shook her head as she thought regretfully of all the pretty things she wanted. "But I don't think the little we should spend would do any good. We've each got $1, and the army wouldn't be much helped by our giving that. I agree not to expect anything from Mother or you, but I do want to buy Undine and Sintram for myself. I've wanted it so long," said Joe, who was a bookworm. "I plan to spend mine in new music," said Beth, with a little sigh, which no one heard but the hearth brush and the kettle holder. "I shall get a nice box of Faber's drawing pencils. I really need them," said Amy decidedly. "Mother didn't say anything about our money, and she won't wish us to give up everything. Let's each buy what we want and have a little fun. I'm sure we work hard enough to earn it," said Joe, examining the heels of her shoes in a gentlemanly manner. "I know I do, teaching those tiresome children nearly all day when I'm longing to enjoy myself at home," began Meg, in the complaining tone again. "You don't have half such a hard time as I do," said Joe. "How would you like to be shut up for hours with a nervous, fussy old lady who keeps you trotting, is never satisfied, and worries you till you're ready to fly out of the window or cry?" "It's naughty to fret, but I do think washing dishes and keeping things tidy is the worst work in the world. It makes me cross, and my hands get so stiff I can't practice well at all." And Beth looked at her rough hands with a sigh that anyone could hear. "I don't believe any of you suffer as I do," said Amy, "for you don't have to go to school with impertinent girls who plague you if you don't know your lessons and laugh at your dresses and label your father if he isn't rich, and insult you when your nose isn't nice. If you mean libel, I'd say so, and not talk about labels, as if Papa was a pickle bottle, said Joe, laughing. I know what I mean, and you needn't be satirical about it. It's proper to use good words and improve your vocabulary, returned Amy with dignity. Don't peck at one another, children. Don't you wish we had the money Papa lost when we were little, Joe? Dear me, how happy and good we'd be if we had no worries, said Meg, who could remember better times. You said the other day you thought we were a deal happier than the King children, for they were fighting and fretting all the time, in spite of their money. So I did, Beth. Well, I think we are, for though we do have to work, we make fun for ourselves, and are a pretty jolly set, as Joe would say. Joe does use such slang words, observed Amy, with a reproving look at the long figure stretched on the rug. Joe immediately sat up, put her hands in her pockets, and began to whistle. Don't, Joe. It's so boyish. That's why I do it. I detest rude, unladylike girls. I hate affected, niminy-piminy chits. Birds in their little nests agree, sang Beth, the peacemaker, with such a gentle face that both sharp voices softened to a laugh, and the quarrel ended for that time. Really, girls, you are both to be blamed, said Meg, in her elder sisterly fashion. You are old enough to leave off boyish tricks and to behave better, Josephine. It didn't matter so much when you were a little girl, but now you are so tall, and turn up your hair. You should remember that you are a young lady. I'm not, and if turning up my hair makes me one, I'll wear it in 2 tails till I'm 20, said Joe, pulling off her net and shaking down a chestnut mane. I hate to think I've got to grow up and be Miss March, and wear long gowns, and look as prim as a China aster. It's bad enough to be a girl anyway, when I like boys' games and work and manners. I can't get over my disappointment in not being a boy. And it's worse than ever now, for I'm dying to go and fight with Papa, and I can only stay at home and knit, like a poky old woman. And Joe shook the blue army sock till the needles rattled, and her ball of yarn bounced across the room. Poor Joe, it's too bad, but it can't be helped. So you must try to be contented with making your name boyish and playing brother to us girls, said Beth, touching the rough head at her knee with a hand that all the dishwashing and dusting in the world could not make ungentle. As for you, Amy, continued Meg, you are altogether too particular and prim. Your airs are funny now, but you'll grow up an affected little goose if you don't take care. I like your nice manners and refined ways of speaking when you don't try to be elegant, but your absurd words are as bad as Joe's slang. If Joe is a tomboy and Amy a goose, what am I, please? Asked Beth, ready to share the lecture. You're a dear and nothing else, answered Meg warmly, and no one contradicted her, for the mouse was the pet of the family. It was a comfortable old room, though the carpet was faded and the furniture very plain, for a good picture or two hung on the walls. Books filled the recesses, chrysanthemums and Christmas roses bloomed in the windows, and a pleasant atmosphere of home peace filled it. 4 sisters sat knitting away in the twilight, while the December snow fell quietly without, and the fire crackled cheerfully within. Margaret, the eldest of the 4, was 16 and very pretty, being plump and fair, with large eyes, plenty of soft brown hair, a sweet mouth, and white hands, of which she was rather vain. 15-year-old Jo was very tall, thin and brown, and reminded one of a colt, for she never seemed to know what to do with her long limbs, which were very much in her way. She had a decided mouth, a comical nose, and sharp grey eyes, which appeared to see everything, and were by turns fierce, funny, or thoughtful. Her long, thick hair was her one beauty, but it was usually bundled into a net to be out of her way. Elizabeth, or Beth, as everyone called her, was a rosy, smooth-haired, bright-eyed girl of 13, with a shy manner, a timid voice, and a peaceful expression, which was seldom disturbed. Her father called her Little Tranquility, and the name suited her excellently, for she seemed to live in a happy world of her own, only venturing out to meet the few whom she trusted and loved. Amy, though the youngest, was a most important person, in her own opinion at least, a regular snow maiden, with blue eyes and yellow hair curling on her shoulders, pale and slender, and always carrying herself like a young lady, mindful of her manners. The clock struck 6. Having swept up the hearth, Beth put a pair of slippers down to warm. Somehow, the sight of the old shoes had a good effect upon the girls, for Mother was coming, and everyone brightened to welcome her. Meg stopped lecturing and lighted the lamp. Amy got out of the easy chair without being asked, and Jo forgot how tired she was as she sat up to hold the slippers nearer to the blaze. They are quite worn out. Marmee must have a new pair. I thought I'd get her some with my $1, said Beth. No, I shall, said Amy. I'm the oldest, began Meg, but Jo spoke with feeling. I'm the man of the family. Now Papa is away, and I shall provide the slippers, for he told me to take special care of Mother while he was gone. I'll tell you what we'll do, said Beth. Let's each get her something for Christmas, and not get anything for ourselves. That's like you, dear. What will we get? Said Jo. Everyone thought soberly for a minute. Then Meg announced, as if the idea was suggested by the sight of her own pretty hands. I shall give her a nice pair of gloves. Army shoes, best to be had, said Jo. Some handkerchiefs, all hemmed, said Beth. I'll get a little bottle of cologne. She likes it, and it won't cost much, so I'll have some left to buy my pencils, added Amy. How will we give the things? Asked Meg. Put them on the table and bring her in and see her open the bundles. Don't you remember how we used to do on our birthdays? Answered Jo. I used to be so frightened when it was my turn to sit in the big chair with the crown on and see you all come marching round to give the presents with a kiss. I like the things and the kisses. But it was dreadful to have you sit looking at me while I opened the bundles, said Beth, who was toasting her face and the bread for tea at the same time. Let Marmee think we are getting things for ourselves and then surprise her, said Jo, marching up and down with her hands behind her back. We must go shopping tomorrow afternoon, Meg. There's so much to do about the play for Christmas night. I don't mean to act any more after this time. I'm getting too old for such things, observed Meg, who was as much a child as ever about dressing up frolics. You won't stop, I know, as long as you can trail round in a white gown with your hair down and wear gold paper jewelry. You are the best actress we've got, and there'll be an end of everything if you quit the boards, said Jo. We ought to rehearse tonight. Come here, Amy, and do the fainting scene, for you are as stiff as a poker in that. I can't help it. I never saw anyone faint, and I don't choose to make myself all black and blue, tumbling flat as you do. If I can go down easily, I'll drop. If I can't, I shall fall into a chair and be graceful. I don't care if Hugo does come at me with a pistol, returned Amy, who was not gifted with dramatic power, but was chosen because she was small enough to be borne out, shrieking by the villain of the piece. Do it this way. Clasp your hands so, and stagger across the room, crying frantically, Roderigo, save me, save me. And away went Jo, with a dramatic scream which was truly thrilling. Amy followed, but she poked her hands out stiffly before her and jerked herself along as if she went by machinery, and her ow was more suggestive of pins being run into her than of fear and anguish. Jo gave a despairing groan, and Meg laughed outright, while Beth let her bread burn as she watched the fun with interest. It's no use. Do the best you can when the time comes. And if the audience laugh, don't blame me. Come on, Meg. Then things went smoothly, for Don Pedro defied the world in a speech of 2 pages without a single break. Hagar, the witch, chanted an awful incantation over her kettleful of simmering toads, with weird effect. Roderigo broke free from his chains, and Hugo fell at last with a wild ha, ha. It's the best we've had yet, said Meg, as the dead villain sat up and rubbed his elbows. I don't see how you can write and act such splendid things, Jo. You're a regular Shakespeare, said Beth, who firmly believed that her sisters were gifted with wonderful genius in all things. Glad to find you so merry, my girls, said a cheery voice at the door, and actors and audience turned to welcome a tall, motherly lady with a "can I help you" look about her, which was truly delightful. She was not elegantly dressed, but a noble-looking woman, and the girls thought the grey cloak and unfashionable bonnet covered the most splendid mother in the world. Well, dearies, how have you got on today? There was so much to do, getting the boxes ready to go tomorrow, that I didn't come home to dinner. Has anyone called, Beth? How is your cold, Meg? Jo, you look tired to death. Come and kiss me, baby. While making these maternal inquiries, Mrs. March got her wet things off, her warm slippers on, and sitting down in the easy chair, drew Amy to her lap, preparing to enjoy the happiest hour of her busy day. The girls flew about, trying to make things comfortable, each in her own way. Meg arranged the tea table. Jo brought wood and set chairs. Beth trotted to and fro between parlour and kitchen, quiet and busy. while Amy gave directions to everyone as she sat with her hands folded. As they gathered about the table, Mrs. March said, with a particularly happy face, "I've got a treat for you after supper." A quick, bright smile went round like a streak of sunshine. Beth clapped her hands, and Jo called out, "A letter! A letter! 3 cheers for Father." Yes, a nice long letter. He is well, and thinks he shall get through the cold season better than we feared. He sends all sorts of loving wishes for Christmas, and an especial message to you girls, said Mrs. March, patting her pocket as if she had got a treasure there. They all drew to the fire, Mother in the big chair, with Beth at her feet, Meg and Amy perched on either arm of the chair, and Jo leaning on the back, where no one would see any sign of emotion if the letter should happen to be touching. Very few letters were written in those hard times that were not touching, especially those which fathers sent home. In this one, little was said of the hardships endured, the dangers faced, or the homesickness conquered. It was a cheerful, hopeful letter, full of lively descriptions of camp life, marches, and military news. And only at the end did the writer's heart overflow with fatherly love and longing for the little girls at home. "Give them all my dear love and a kiss. Tell them I think of them by day, pray for them by night, and find my best comfort in their affection at all times. A year seems very long to wait before I see them, but remind them that while we wait, we may all work, so that these hard days need not be wasted. I know they will remember all I said to them, that they will be loving children to you, will do their duty faithfully, fight their bosom enemies bravely, and conquer themselves so beautifully, that when I come back to them, I may be fonder and prouder than ever of my little women." Everybody sniffled when they came to that part. Jo wasn't ashamed of the tear that dropped off the end of her nose, and Amy hid her face on her mother's shoulder and said softly, "I am a selfish girl, but I'll truly try to be better, so he mayn't be disappointed in me by and by." "We all will," said Meg. "I think too much of my looks, and hate to work, but won't anymore, if I can help it. I'll try and be what he loves to call me, a little woman, and not be rough and wild, but do my duty here, instead of wanting to be somewhere else," said Jo, thinking that keeping her temper at home was a much harder task than facing a rebel or two down south. Beth said nothing, but wiped away her tears with a blue army sock and began to knit with all her might, losing no time in doing the duty that lay nearest her, while she resolved in her quiet little soul to be all that Father hoped to find her when the year brought round the happy coming home. The letter, the firelight, the 4 girls gathered in close, and their mother in the big chair. Mrs. March broke the silence that followed by saying in her cheery voice, "Do you remember how you used to play Pilgrim's Progress when you were little things? Nothing delighted you more than to have me tie my piece bags on your backs for burdens, give you hats and sticks and rolls of paper, and let you travel through the house from the cellar, which was the city of destruction, up, up to the housetop. where you had all the lovely things you could collect to make a celestial city. What fun it was, especially going by the lions and passing through the valley where the hobgoblins were, said Joe. I like the place where the bundles fell off and tumbled downstairs, said Meg. My favorite part was when we came out on the flat roof, where our flowers and arbors and pretty things were, and all stood and sung for joy up there in the sunshine, said Beth, smiling as if that pleasant moment had come back to her. I don't remember much about it, except that I was afraid of the cellar and the dark entry, and always liked the cake and milk we had up at the top. If I wasn't too old for such things, I'd rather like to play it over again, said Amy, who began to talk of renouncing childish things at the mature age of 12. We never are too old for this, my dear, because it is a play we are playing all the time in one way or another. Our burdens are here, our road is before us, and the longing for goodness and happiness is the guide that leads us through many troubles and mistakes to the peace which is a true celestial city. Now, my little pilgrims, suppose you begin again, not in play, but in earnest, and see how far on you can get before Father comes home. Really, Mother? Where are our bundles? Asked Amy, who was a very literal young lady. Each of you told what your burden was just now, except Beth. I rather think she hasn't got any, said her mother. Yes, I have. Mine is dishes and dusters, and envying girls with nice pianos, and being afraid of people. Beth's bundle was such a gentle, funny one that everyone wanted to smile, but nobody did, for it would have hurt her feelings very much. Let us do it, said Meg thoughtfully. It is only another name for trying to be good, and the story may help us, for though we do want to be good, it's hard work, and we forget, and don't do our best. We were in the Slough of Despond tonight, and Mother came and pulled us out as help did in the book. We ought to have our role of directions, like Christian. What shall we do about that? Asked Joe. Look under your pillows Christmas morning, and you will find your guidebook, replied Mrs. March. They talked over the new plan while old Hannah cleared the table. Then out came the 4 little work baskets, and the needles flew as the girls made sheets for Aunt March. It was uninteresting sewing, but that night no one complained. They divided the long seams into 4 parts, calling the quarters Europe, Asia, Africa, and America, and in that way went on cheerfully, talking about the different countries as they stitched their way through them. Europe, Asia, Africa, America, and the needles moving steadily on in the warm room. At 9, they set down their work and sang as usual before they went to bed. No one but Beth could get much music out of the old piano, but she had a way of softly touching the yellow keys and making a pleasant accompaniment to the simple songs they sang. Meg had a voice like a flute, and she and her mother led the little choir. Amy chirped like a cricket, and Jo wandered through the airs at her own sweet will, always coming out at the wrong place with a croak or a quaver that spoiled the most pensive tune. They had always done this from the time they could lisp. Crinkle, crinkle, ittle, tar. And it had become a household custom, for the mother was a born singer. The first sound in the morning was her voice, as she went about the house singing like a lark, and the last sound at night was the same cheery sound, for the girls never grew too old for that familiar lullaby. The yellow piano keys, the familiar lullaby, the fire settling low in the grate. Chapter 2, A Merry Christmas. Joe was the first to wake in the grey dawn of Christmas morning. No stockings hung at the fireplace, and for a moment she felt as much disappointed as she did long ago, when her little sock fell down because it was so crammed with goodies. Then she remembered her mother's promise, and slipping her hand under her pillow, drew out a little crimson-covered book. She knew it very well, for it was that beautiful old story of the best life ever lived, and Joe felt that it was a true guidebook for any pilgrim going the long journey. She woke Meg with a Merry Christmas and bade her see what was under her pillow. A green-covered book appeared, with the same picture inside, and a few words written by their mother, which made their one present very precious in their eyes. Presently, Beth and Amy woke to rummage and find their little books also, one dove-coloured, the other blue, and all sat looking at and talking about them, while the east grew rosy with the coming day. 4 little books, crimson, green, dove grey, blue, and the east growing rosy beyond the cold window. In spite of her small vanities, Margaret had a sweet and pious nature which unconsciously influenced her sisters, especially Jo, who loved her very tenderly. "Girls," said Meg seriously, looking from the tumbled head beside her to the 2 little night-capped ones in the room beyond. "Mother wants us to read and love and mind these books, and we must begin at once. We used to be faithful about it, but since Father went away and all this war trouble unsettled us, we have neglected many things. You can do as you please, but I shall keep my book on the table here and read a little every morning as soon as I wake, for I know it will do me good and help me through the day." Then she opened her new book and began to read. Jo put her arm round her and, leaning cheek to cheek, read also, with a quiet expression so seldom seen on her restless face. "How good Meg is. Come, Amy, let's do as they do. I'll help you with the hard words, and they'll explain things if we don't understand," whispered Beth, very much impressed by the pretty books and her sister's example. "I'm glad mine is blue," said Amy, and then the rooms were very still while the pages were softly turned, and the winter sunshine crept in to touch the bright heads and serious faces with a Christmas greeting. "Where is Mother?" asked Meg, as she and Jo ran down to thank her for their gifts half an hour later. "Goodness only knows. Some poor creetur come a-beggin', and your ma went straight off to see what was needed. There never was such a woman for giving away victuals and drink, clothes and firing," replied Hannah, who had lived with the family since Meg was born, and was considered by them all more as a friend than a servant. "She will be back soon, I think, so fry your cakes and have everything ready," said Meg, looking over the presents, which were collected in a basket and kept under the sofa, ready to be produced at the proper time. How nice my handkerchiefs look, don't they? Hannah washed and ironed them for me, and I marked them all myself, said Beth, looking proudly at the somewhat uneven letters which had cost her such labor. Bless the child. She's gone and put mother on them instead of M. March. How funny, said Joe, taking up one. Isn't it right? I thought it was better to do it so, because Meg's initials are MM, and I don't want anyone to use these but Marmee, said Beth, looking troubled. It's all right, dear, and a very pretty idea. Quite sensible too, for no one can ever mistake now. It will please her very much, I know, said Meg, with a frown for Joe and a smile for Beth. There's Mother. Hide the basket, quick, said Joe, as a door closed, and steps sounded in the hall. Amy came in hastily and looked rather abashed when she saw her sisters all waiting for her. Where have you been, and what are you hiding behind you? Asked Meg, surprised to see, by her hood and cloak, that lazy Amy had been out so early. Don't laugh at me, Joe. I didn't mean anyone should know till the time came. I only meant to change the little bottle for a big one, and I gave all my money to get it. And I'm truly trying not to be selfish anymore. As she spoke, Amy showed the handsome flask which replaced the cheap one, and looked so earnest and humble in her little effort to forget herself that Meg held her close on the spot, and Joe pronounced her a trump, while Beth ran to the window and picked her finest rose to ornament the stately bottle. You see, I felt ashamed of my present after reading and talking about being good this morning. So I ran around the corner and changed it the minute I was up. And I'm so glad, for mine is the handsomest now. Another bang of the street door sent the basket under the sofa and the girls to the table, eager for breakfast. Merry Christmas, Marmee. Many of them. Thank you for our books. We read some, and mean to every day, they said, in chorus. Merry Christmas, little daughters. I'm glad you began at once, and hope you will keep on. But I want to say one word before we sit down. Not far away from here lies a poor woman with a little newborn baby. 6 children are huddled into one bed to keep from freezing, for they have no fire. There is nothing to eat over there, and the oldest boy came to tell me they were suffering hunger and cold. My girls, will you give them your breakfast as a Christmas present? They were all unusually hungry, having waited nearly an hour, and for a minute no one spoke. Only a minute. For Joe said warmly, I'm so glad you came before we began. May I go and help carry the things to the poor little children? Asked Beth eagerly. I shall take the cream and the muffins, added Amy, heroically giving up the articles she most liked. Meg was already covering the buckwheats and piling the bread into one big plate. I thought you'd do it, said Mrs. March, smiling as if satisfied. You shall all go and help me, and when we come back, we will have bread and milk for breakfast and make it up at dinner time. They were soon ready, and the little procession set out. It was early, and they went through back streets, so few people saw them, and no one noticed the queer party. A poor, bare, miserable room it was, with broken windows, no fire, ragged bedclothes, a sick mother, a wailing baby, and a group of pale, hungry children huddled under one old quilt, trying to keep warm. Mein Gott, it is good angels come to us, said the poor woman, her eyes wet with gratitude. Funny angels in hoods and mittens, said Joe, and set them laughing. In a few minutes, it really did seem as if kind spirits had been at work there. Hannah, who had carried wood, made a fire, and stopped up the broken panes with old hats and her own cloak. Mrs. March gave the mother tea and gruel, and comforted her with promises of help, while she dressed the little baby as tenderly as if it had been her own. The girls, meantime, spread the table, set the children round the fire, and fed them like so many hungry birds, laughing, talking, and trying to understand the funny, broken English. Das ist gut, the poor things said, as they ate and warmed their cold hands at the comfortable blaze. That was a very happy breakfast, though the girls didn't get any of it. And when they went away, leaving comfort behind, there were not in all the city 4 merrier people than the hungry little girls who gave away their breakfasts and contented themselves with bread and milk on Christmas morning. That's loving our neighbor better than ourselves, and I like it, said Meg, as they set out their presents, while their mother was upstairs collecting clothes for the poor Hummels. Not a very splendid show of gifts, but there was a great deal of love done up in the few little bundles, and the tall vase of red roses, white chrysanthemums, and trailing vines, which stood in the middle, gave quite an elegant air to the table. She's coming. Strike up, Beth. Open the door, Amy. 3 cheers for Marmee, said Joe, while Meg went to conduct Mother to the seat of honor. Beth played her gayest march. Amy threw open the door, and Meg enacted escort with great dignity. Mrs. March was both surprised and touched, and smiled with her eyes full as she examined her presents and read the little notes which accompanied them. The slippers went on at once. A new handkerchief was slipped into her pocket, well scented with Amy's cologne. The rose was fastened in her bosom, and the nice gloves were pronounced a perfect fit. There was a good deal of laughing and kissing and explaining, in the simple, loving fashion which makes these home festivals so pleasant at the time, so sweet to remember long afterward. And then all fell to work. The morning charities and ceremonies took so much time that the rest of the day was devoted to preparations for the evening festivities. The girls put their wits to work and made whatever they needed. Very clever were some of their productions. Pasteboard guitars, antique lamps made of old-fashioned butter boats covered with silver paper, gorgeous robes of old cotton glittering with tin spangles, and armor covered with the same diamond-shaped bits. The furniture was used to being turned topsy-turvy, and the big chamber was the scene of many innocent revels. No gentlemen were admitted, so Joe played male parts to a heart's content, and took immense satisfaction in a pair of russet leather boots. These boots, an old foil, and a slashed doublet once used by an artist for some picture, were Joe's chief treasures, and appeared on all occasions. The smallness of the company made it necessary for the two principal actors to take several parts apiece, and they certainly deserved some credit for the hard work they did in learning 3 or 4 different parts, whisking in and out of various costumes, and managing the stage besides. It was excellent drill for their memories, a harmless amusement, and employed many hours, which otherwise would have been idle, lonely, or spent in less profitable society. On Christmas night, a dozen girls settled onto the bed, which was the dress circle, and sat before the blue and yellow chintz curtains in a most flattering state of expectancy. There was a good deal of rustling and whispering behind the curtain, a little lamp smoke, and an occasional giggle from Amy, who was apt to get very excited in the moment. Presently, a bell sounded. The curtains came apart, and the operatic tragedy began. A gloomy wood, according to the playbill, was represented by a few shrubs in pots, green baize on the floor, and a cave in the distance. This cave was made with a clothes horse for a roof, bureaus for walls, and in it was a small furnace in full blast, with a black pot on it, and an old witch bending over it. The stage was dark, and the glow of the furnace had a fine effect, especially as real steam issued from the kettle when the witch took off the cover. A moment was allowed for the first thrill to pass. Then Hugo, the villain, stepped in with a clanking sword at his side, a slouched hat, black beard, mysterious cloak, and the boots. After pacing to and fro in much agitation, he broke into a long, dramatic strain, singing of his hatred to Roderigo, his love for Zara, and his pleasing resolution to settle the matter once and for all. The gruff tones of Hugo's voice were very impressive, and the audience applauded the moment he paused for breath. Bowing with the air of one accustomed to public praise, he went to the cavern and ordered Hagar to come forth with a commanding, "Wadho minion, I need thee." Out came Meg, with grey horsehair hanging about her face, a red and black robe, a staff, and strange signs upon her cloak. Hugo demanded a potion to make Zara adore him, and one to put away Roderigo. Hagar, in a fine dramatic melody, promised both, and proceeded to call up the spirit who would bring the love philtre. Hither, hither, from thy home, airy sprite, I bid thee come, born of roses, fed on dew. Charms and potions canst thou brew. Bring me here, with elfin speed, the fragrant philtre which I need. Make it sweet and swift and strong. Spirit, answer now my song. A soft strain of music sounded, and then at the back of the cave appeared a little figure in cloudy white, with glittering wings, golden hair, and a garland of roses on its head. Waving a wand, it sang, "Hither I come, from my airy home. Afar in the silver moon, take the magic spell, and use it well, or its power will vanish soon." And dropping a small gilded bottle at the witch's feet, the spirit disappeared. Another chant from Hagar produced another apparition, not a lovely one, for with a bang, an ugly black imp appeared, and having croaked a reply, tossed a dark bottle at Hugo, and disappeared with a laugh. Having warbled his thanks and put the potions in his boots, Hugo departed, and Hagar informed the audience that, as he had done her friends wrong in times past, she has resolved to thwart his plans and be revenged on him. Then the curtain fell, and the audience rested and ate candy while discussing the merits of the play. A good deal of hammering went on before the curtain rose again. But when it became evident what a masterpiece of stage carpentering had been got up, no one murmured at the delay. It was truly superb. A tower rose to the ceiling. Halfway up appeared a window with a lamp burning at it, and behind the white curtain appeared Zara in a lovely blue and silver dress, waiting for Roderigo. He came in gorgeous array, with plumed cap, red cloak, chestnut lovelocks, a guitar, and the boots, of course. Kneeling at the foot of the tower, he sang a serenade in gentle tones. Zara replied, and after a musical dialogue, consented to fly. Then came the grand effect of the play. Roderigo produced a rope ladder with 5 steps to it, threw up one end, and invited Zara to descend. Timidly, she crept from her lattice, put her hand on Roderigo's shoulder, and was about to step gracefully down, when, alas for Zara, she forgot her train. It caught in the window. The tower tottered, leaned forward, fell with a crash, and buried the unhappy lovers in the ruins. A general cry arose as the russet boots waved wildly from the wreck, and a golden head emerged, exclaiming, "I told you so! I told you so!" With wonderful presence of mind, Don Pedro, the cruel sire, came in, helped out his daughter with a hasty whispered aside, "Don't laugh, act as if it was all right," and ordering Roderigo up, banished him from the kingdom with wrath and scorn. Though decidedly shaken by the fall of the tower, Roderigo defied the old gentleman and refused to stir. This dauntless example fired Zara. She also defied her sire, and he ordered them both to the deepest dungeons of the castle. A stout little retainer came in with chains and led them away, looking very much frightened, and evidently forgetting the speech he ought to have made. Act 3 was the castle hall, and here Hagar appeared, having come to free the lovers and finish Hugo. She heard him coming and hid, saw him put the potions into 2 cups of wine, and bid the little servant bear them to the captives in their cells, and tell them he would come anon. The servant took Hugo aside to tell him something, and Hagar quietly changed the cups for 2 others, which were harmless. Having done so, Hagar put back the cup which held the potion meant for Roderigo. Hugo, growing thirsty after a long song, drank it, lost his wits, and after a good deal of clutching and stumbling, fell still, while Hagar informed him what she had done in a song of exquisite power and melody. This was a truly thrilling scene, and he was called before the curtain, and with great propriety appeared, leading Hagar, whose singing was considered more wonderful than all the rest of the performance put together. Act 4 showed the despairing Roderigo on the point of despairing most dramatically, because he had been told that Zara had deserted him. Just as he was at his lowest, a lovely song was sung under his window, informing him that Zara was true, but in danger, and he could save her, if he would. A key was thrown in, which unlocked the door, and in a flood of sudden hope, he made his way to rescue his lady love. Act 5 opened with a stormy scene between Zara and Don Pedro. She would not hear of going into a convent, and after a touching appeal was about to fall into a chair, when Roderigo arrived and demanded her hand. Don Pedro refused, because he was not rich. They spoke with great feeling, but could not agree, and Roderigo was about to bear away the exhausted Zara when the timid servant entered with a letter and a bag from Hagar, who had mysteriously disappeared. The letter informed the party that she bequeathed untold wealth to the young pair, and an awful doom to Don Pedro if he didn't make them happy. The bag was opened, and several quarts of tin money showered down upon the stage, till it was quite glorified with the glitter. This entirely softened the stern sire. He consented without a murmur. All joined in a joyful chorus, and the curtain fell upon the lovers kneeling to receive Don Pedro's blessing in attitudes of the most romantic grace. Warm applause followed, but received an unexpected check, for the cot-bed on which the dress circle was built suddenly shut up and extinguished the enthusiastic audience. Roderigo and Don Pedro flew to the rescue, and all were helped out unhurt, though many were speechless with laughter. The excitement had hardly settled when Hannah appeared, with Mrs. March's compliments, and would the ladies walk down to supper. This was a surprise, even to the actors, and when they saw the table, they looked at one another in wondering amazement. It was like Marmee to arrange a little treat for them, but anything so fine as this was unheard of since the departed days of plenty. There was ice cream, actually 2 dishes of it, pink and white, and cake and fruit and French bonbons, and in the middle of the table, 4 great bouquets of hothouse flowers. It quite took their breath away, and they looked first at the table and then at their mother, who looked as if she enjoyed it immensely. "Is it fairies?" asked Amy. "It's Santa Claus," said Beth. Mother did it, and Meg smiled her sweetest, in spite of her grey beard and white eyebrows. Aunt March had a good fit and sent the supper, said Joe, with a sudden inspiration. All wrong. Old Mr. Lawrence sent it, replied Mrs. March. The Lawrence boy's grandfather. What in the world put such a thing into his head? We don't know him, said Meg. Hannah told one of his servants about your breakfast party. He is an odd old gentleman, but that pleased him. He knew my father years ago, and he sent me a polite note this afternoon, saying he hoped I would allow him to express his friendly feeling toward my children by sending them a few trifles in honor of the day. I could not refuse, and so you have a little feast at night to make up for the bread and milk breakfast. That boy put it into his head. I know he did. He's a good fellow, and I wish we could get acquainted. He looks as if he'd like to know us, but he's bashful, and Meg is so prim, she won't let me speak to him when we pass, said Joe, as the plates went round, and the ice cream began to melt with soft ohs and ahs of satisfaction. Our cat ran away once, and he brought her back, and we talked over the fence, all about cricket and so on, when he saw Meg coming and walked off. I mean to know him someday, for he needs fun. I'm sure he does, said Joe. I like his manners, and he looks like a little gentleman, so I've no objection to your knowing him, if a proper opportunity comes. He brought the flowers himself, and I should have asked him in, if if I had been sure what was going on upstairs. He looked so wistful as he went away, hearing the frolic, and evidently having none of his own. I never had such a fine bouquet before. How pretty it is. And Meg examined her flowers with great interest. They are lovely, but Beth's roses are sweeter to me, said Mrs. March, smelling the half-dead posy in her belt. Beth nestled up to her and said softly, I wish I could send my bunch to Father. I'm afraid he isn't having such a Merry Christmas as we are. The candles burned lower. The ice cream plates were cleared away. The flowers stood in their vases, red roses, white chrysanthemums, trailing green vines, in the quiet of the Christmas room. And Beth's half-dead posy, worn close to her mother's heart all evening. Outside, the December snow went on falling, quietly, over the rooftops of the city, over the big Lawrence house next door, dark and silent, over the Hummel house, where a fire now burned, and small children slept warm for the first time in many nights. Inside, the four sisters and their mother sat together in the lamplight, thinking of Father far away, and of all they had done this day with very little. The room grew still. The fire settled into its coals. The night gathered close around the old house on the quiet street. And the Christmas candles, one by one, burned down to quiet.